Have you ever looked at a mountain, a river, or a coastline and wondered how it got its shape? It might seem like the Earth's surface is permanent, but it's actually changing all the time, sculpted by powerful, slow-moving forces. Today, we're diving deep into three of the most important processes that shape our world: weathering, erosion, and sedimentation. Whether you're a student, a teacher, or just curious about our amazing planet, this video will break it all down for you. So let's start with the first step, weathering. What exactly is it? Simply put, weathering is the process of breaking down rocks, soil, and minerals into smaller pieces. Think of it as the Earth's way of slowly hammering away at its own surface. But here's the key thing. Weathering happens in place. The rock breaks down, but it doesn't move anywhere. Yet, it's like cracking a nut but leaving the pieces right where they fell. This process is the very first stage in creating the soil we grow food in and the sand on our beaches. It's the ultimate starting point for a brand new landscape. Now, weathering isn't a one-size-fits-all process. It comes in three main flavors: physical, chemical, and biological. Physical weathering, also called mechanical weathering, is when rocks are broken down by physical force. Imagine water seeping into a crack in a rock. When that water freezes, it expands, acting like a wedge and splitting the rock apart. This is called frost wedging. Other examples include rocks being worn down by wind-blown sand, or even the intense heat of a forest fire causing rocks to expand and crack. Next up is chemical weathering. This type involves a chemical reaction that changes the rock's composition, making it weaker. A classic example is rust. When iron in rocks is exposed to oxygen and water, it oxidizes, creating that familiar reddish-brown color and making the rock crumble. Another common one is acid rain. Pollutants in the atmosphere can make rainwater slightly acidic, and over time this acid can dissolve certain types of rock, like limestone, creating amazing caves and sinkholes. Finally, we have biological weathering. This is when living things cause rocks to break down. You've probably seen this without even realizing it. A tree root growing into a crack in a sidewalk, slowly pushing it apart. That's biological weathering. Tiny organisms like lichen and moss can also produce weak acids that slowly eat away at the rock's surface. Even burrowing animals contribute by digging and exposing fresh rock to the elements. So, from a tiny piece of moss to a giant tree, life itself is a powerful force of change. Okay, so the rocks are broken into smaller pieces. What happens next? This is where erosion comes in. Erosion is the process of moving those broken down rock fragments, called sediment, from one place to another. If weathering is the hammer, erosion is the conveyor belt. The main agents of erosion are water, wind, ice, and gravity. Let's talk about water. Rushing rivers are incredible movers of sediment. They can carry everything from tiny silt particles to massive boulders, carving out canyons like the Grand Canyon over millions of years. Ocean waves constantly crash against coastlines, carrying sand away from one beach and depositing it on another. Wind is another powerful force, especially in dry, arid regions. It can pick up fine sand and dust and transport it for hundreds, even thousands of miles. This process is responsible for creating vast deserts and magnificent sand dunes. Then there's ice. Glaciers, which are giant, slow-moving rivers of ice, act like massive bulldozers. As they advance, they pluck rocks from the ground and scrape the landscape, carving out deep U-shaped valleys and creating unique landforms. When the glaciers melt, they leave behind all the rock and debris they were carrying. And finally, gravity. It's the simplest agent of erosion. Anytime rock and soil move downhill due to gravity, that's erosion at work. This can be a slow, gradual process called creep, or a sudden, dramatic event like a landslide or a rockfall. So, we've broken the rock down with weathering, and we've moved it with erosion. Where does all that material end up? That brings us to our final process: sedimentation, also known as deposition. Sedimentation is simply the dropping off, or settling, of the sediment that was carried by wind, water, or ice. When the energy of the transporting agent decreases, it can no longer carry its load, so it drops it. Think of a river flowing into a lake or an ocean. As the river slows down, it loses energy and drops the sediment it was carrying. Over time, this builds up to form a delta, like the famous Mississippi River Delta. Sand dunes in the desert are formed when the wind slows down and drops its load of sand. Beaches are formed by waves depositing sand along the shoreline. Even the floor of the deep ocean is covered in layers upon layers of fine sediment that has slowly settled out of the water over eons. These layers of sediment can eventually be compacted and cemented together to form new sedimentary rocks, like sandstone and shale, starting the rock cycle all over again. So let's quickly recap the difference. Weathering breaks it. Erosion takes it. Sedimentation drops it. It's a simple but powerful sequence. Weathering weakens and breaks down the rock. Erosion picks up those pieces and moves them. And sedimentation lays them down in a new location, creating new landforms. All three processes work together in a continuous cycle, constantly reshaping the surface of our planet. Let's look at some real-world examples to tie it all together. The majestic arches in Arches National Park in Utah? They were formed by physical weathering from ice and wind, followed by wind and water erosion that carried away the weaker rock, leaving the stunning arches behind. The White Cliffs of Dover in England? They are made of chalk, which consists of the tiny skeletons of marine organisms that settled on the ocean floor millions of years ago, a perfect example of sedimentation. The fertile Nile River Valley? Every year, the Nile would flood, eroding soil from the Ethiopian highlands, and depositing it as a rich layer of silt along its banks, creating incredibly fertile farmland. These forces are not just abstract concepts. They are actively shaping the world we see every single day. To summarize, our planet's surface is a dynamic and ever-changing canvas. Weathering acts as the artist's chisel, breaking down rock through physical, chemical, and biological means. Erosion serves as the transport, with water, wind, ice, and gravity carrying the pieces away. And finally, sedimentation is the final placement, where these materials are deposited to create new landforms like deltas, beaches, and dunes, and even form new rocks. Understanding these three fundamental processes gives us a new appreciation for the incredible story written in the landscapes all around us. I hope this journey through weathering, erosion, and sedimentation has helped you see the Earth in a new light. It's a story of destruction and creation happening all around us, all the time. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more Earth science lessons. Share it with anyone who might be curious about how our planet works. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.